K-pop fans know that there is just something magnetic about the glitz, glamour, and catchy tunes of this insanely popular musical genre. But to the uninitiated, it can be difficult to understand what is going on and to keep track of all the hottest K-pop stars. Today we'll be talking about some of your favorite K-pop bands, just what makes this genre stand out, and the shocking reality behind the lives of K-pop artists. Being a K-pop star may seem like a dream job, but it's something few people would ever be able to handle. Contracts. K-pop idols spend years devoting every waking moment to achieve their dreams, but once they get discovered, they still have to sign on the dotted line. As you probably know, most K-pop idols start out when they're pretty young, and it's not uncommon for 12 or 13-year-old kids to be signing contracts. The thing is, these contracts are for insanely long terms. For example, Yuna from Girls' Generation had to sign a contract with terms lasting 13 years. And the terms of these contracts are so strict, they're even referred to as slave contracts. If an idol wants to get out of a contract they signed as a child after a decade or so, they often can't afford to as the financial penalties are too strict. Eventually, the length of these contracts was limited to only 7 years. For a long time, entertainment companies defended themselves and their contracts by claiming that they spent a ton of money training their idols. They claimed that they were simply protecting their investments by imposing such strict financial penalties. Things got so dire that the Fair Trade Commission had to step in due to the massive amounts of complaints. Their investigation proved that management companies were charging excessive penalties and demanded that things change. Now, in order to comply with FTC regulations, these companies are only allowed to recoup their investments, not make a profit when a star decides to leave. But considering all of the time, effort, crash dieting, and plastic surgery it takes to get signed, why do some of the stars try to leave? Even huge stars are often forced to live in company housing, which they share with their band members, and they have limited access to their own money. Being rich seems like a huge benefit to being a star, but the reality is, being an idol is far less profitable than you might think. Former K-pop idol Prince Mac claims that very little of the group's profits actually make it into the pockets of the group members. According to Prince Mac, all of their initial profits go straight to their management companies in order to pay back their investment. These companies decide where the idols will live, what they will eat, and then they bill them for it. They're also expected to pay for their own training and music videos. Apparently, only about 10% of the profits remain after management has taken its cut, and that 10% is split among the members of the group, and doesn't go very far. Novice K-pop groups earn about $4,000 per show, which leaves about $400 for the group members when all is said and done. Prince Mac claims that AOA made their debut in 2012 and made it big a couple of years later. But despite their success, it took them until 2015 to finally pay off their debts and actually earn some money for themselves. And although that seems grim, K-pop idols are being paid more now than they ever have been historically. Prior to 2010, these idols were making about 23 million won, or 21,000 US dollars per year. Now they're making over twice that, bringing in over 46 million won, or $43,000 per year. This is due to the rise in popularity in overseas markets and the growing number of K-pop fans in America. But still, when you compare their salaries to those of traditional pop stars, the disparity is startling. Just take a look at Beyonce, who has a net worth of about $355 million, or Taylor Swift, who is worth about $320 million. These stars make more profit during a single show than these idols make during an entire year. Management. We know that K-pop idols spend years trying to pay back their management teams, but now let's talk about the managers themselves. These people not only control the group's music, but often the personal lives of the members. Common stipulations these idols are forced to deal with are not having a cell phone or being allowed to engage in a romantic relationship. And unfortunately, it seems that there is a gender disparity when it comes to this rule. Female performers often report being forbidden from dating for years at a time, while male performers, such as members of BTS, have always been allowed to date and have cell phones. According to BLACKPINK, they have been under strict orders from management not to date anyone. But as you've probably guessed, this doesn't entirely stop idols from fraternizing with one another. Some stars confess to going on dates under the guise of exercising or other innocuous activity, but the risks involved with this are substantial if the star is found out. Their management teams will often be forced to pay in order to keep the story quiet, which ultimately means the idol is forced to pay for their indiscretion. And then of course, there's the fan reaction if they're found out. Guhara of Kara was once a guest on a variety show where the male host relentlessly questioned her about being in a relationship. The idol eventually broke down in tears, and shockingly, many fans weren't on her side. Instead of being supported, Guhara was chastised for getting emotional in front of the television host. It seems like the only relationship these idols are allowed to have are with their managers, but those relationships have also been known to sour. Managers in charge of enforcing the strict rules these stars have to live by, but they can often be unpredictable. The manager of EXO has been spotted numerous times actually reaching out and striking fans. During one outburst, he struck a fan with such force that they sustained serious injuries. As a result, the manager was fined 1 million won, or $936. Red Velvet's manager was caught on camera cursing out fans and calling them obscene names. And considering how out of control K-pop fans can get, these fans were particularly mild at making things even more shocking. If managers treat the people they're marketing to this way in public, it raises serious questions about what goes on with the idols behind closed doors. After all, in many ways, the idols are really at their mercy. And sometimes following the rules can lead to disaster. Chris from EXO even filed a lawsuit against his agency due to the frantic nature of his schedule. He claims he was being run ragged and that he was starting to develop health problems as a result of his overly demanding schedule. According to Chris, his health has never been a priority to his management team, and he adds, "The company has treated me like a machine part, or as an object of control rather than presenting a vision as an entertainer." And even if they don't file lawsuits, many stars admit to suffering while living under the regulations of their management teams. Yuna from Girls' Generation admits that she has struggled with depression and her manager has done nothing to provide resources for her to cope. Mental illness carries a serious stigma in many places, and Korea is no exception. More often than not, idols are encouraged to bury their feelings and present a perfect smiling face to the crowd. Creativity. Pop music is known for being, well, popular. It is designed to appeal to as many people as possible and takes into account current musical trends. It's actually pretty interesting how it's created, but we're used to artists putting their own spin on the genre. Just think about how much we love hearing songs about the personal lives of performers. Well, unfortunately, the control of most agencies completely extends to any and all music and performances completed by idols. When these agencies are on the lookout for new idols, they aren't looking for creativity, to say the least. Sure, there are plenty of idols who manage to express themselves, but they're in the minority. This is because it's considered a massive risk on the part of their management team to allow such a thing to occur, and more often than not, they decide it's not worth the risk. They want people who can dance and sing, but who can also be molded into exactly what the company is looking for in their next idol. We aren't saying that K-pop idols aren't talented, far from it. Keeping up with their demanding schedules alone is something few people could handle. Rather, it's a shame that they're so rarely allowed to express their creative talents over the course of their careers. It's unfortunate that so many companies are so concerned with their bottom line that they decline any attempts at creativity, because sometimes it can pay off in a huge way. Big Bang is not only one of the most popular K-pop groups of all time, but one of the biggest boy band groups in the world. They've even beat out our beloved Backstreet Boys in terms of records sold, which is no easy feat. And to fans, part of what makes Big Bang appealing is their individuality and how it shines through in their music. This also helps them stand out from the sea of other K-pop bands, especially to Western audiences. Training. When we hear stories about Western pop stars and how they made it big, they usually involve a lot of practicing, subpar gigs, and ultimately getting discovered. But becoming a K-pop idol is something else entirely, and it's something that these men and women train for their entire lives. There's entire schools devoted to training future generations of K-pop stars, and they don't come cheap. These students put academic pursuits aside to concentrate on singing and dancing, despite the fact that only a few dozen new K-pop acts make their debut each year. The draw of these schools is that students have the opportunity to perform for talent scouts who could theoretically sign them, but this rarely happens, and the scouts are there to pick out the best of the best. So if you're not it, don't expect any actual feedback or notes about what to work on. You'll just be told to practice harder, pony up another year of exorbitant tuition, and try again next year. Part of what makes becoming a K-pop star so difficult is also what makes it so popular. Many pop stars perform choreography in order to complement their singing, but K-pop idols take it to the next level. Watching K-pop idols perform is a huge part of being a fan and truly appreciating all of the effort and talent of your favorite group. This means the pressure is definitely on and it doesn't let up. Usually when a star is discovered, their life gets easier and soon they're kicking back in a mansion reminiscing about their humble beginnings. But for a K-pop idol, their job is only just beginning. Diet. If you thought Hollywood beauty standards were unrealistic, the pressure on K-pop idols is a whole other realm. While Hollywood isn't perfect, there are stars of various weights and aesthetics, but this isn't the case when it comes to K-pop. Incredibly restrictive diets aren't just for walking the red carpet at award shows for these stars, they're a way of life. And you're not just accountable to yourself, but your bandmates and your manager, who is likely to be monitoring your weight and BMI. More often than not, to keep up with the demands on their appearances, idols resort to extreme and sometimes dangerous diet plans. According to the Women of 9 Muses, they follow something called a paper cup diet. This means they fill small paper cups with healthy foods in order to make sure they don't overindulge. Soyu and Dasam from the group Sister admit to losing between 17 and 22 pounds in a single month because of their crash dieting habits. And Pak Bum has admitted to existing on a mostly cabbage diet in order to maintain her appearance. While these aesthetic demands are especially harsh on the women of K-pop, the men don't have it easy in this regard either. Xiumin from EXO once admitted that while fans admire his muscular appearance, it's due to the fact that he often starves himself and spends long hours at dance practice. His fellow bandmates believe he only weighed about 133 pounds at one point. Jimin and Jin of BTS are no strangers to insane eating practices and admit that their weight is something they constantly think about and obsess over. Jimin subsists on a single meal a day, but Jin takes it to the next level by only eating 2 small pieces of chicken breast per day. If you think all of this sounds incredibly unhealthy, you're right. At one point, Jin began to suffer from serious health problems because he wasn't getting the vitamins he needed on his chicken breast diet. While boarding a flight, Lay from EXO collapsed due to exhaustion, and this wasn't the only time we've seen this happen to him in public, let alone what his private time is like. Some female idols admit that they have stopped getting their periods because of their extreme dieting, and at times it can even impact their singing ability. Plastic surgery. Of course, even the most dangerous of crash diets can only do so much, and the majority of K-pop stars you see have undergone often dramatic cosmetic surgery. Cosmetic surgery is huge in South Korea in general, with about 1 in 5 women going under the knife. Comparatively, only about 1 in 20 women in the United States have undergone any type of cosmetic procedure. So what type of surgeries are these girls getting? The most common procedures are nose jobs and eyelid surgeries, and these are relatively simple. But often, more painful and complex surgeries are required, such as the V-line surgery. During this procedure, the idol has their jaw broken and then shaved into a more distinct V shape. This makes their face slimmer and makes it look more oval and less round. If this sounds painful, that's because it is. It also requires your jaw to be wired shut for 6 weeks, and after that, you need an additional 6 months to heal completely. Not only is plastic surgery expected when you become a K-pop idol, but it's not exactly a secret. Six Bomb even created Becoming Prettier, which features 2 music videos to show them before and after their plastic surgeries. Their manager boasted that the women have had almost every facial surgery possible and have all gotten breast augmentations. Even people applying for average jobs in Korea are required to submit headshots with their resumes more often than not. So if the pressure to look perfect is that intense for the average person, you can only imagine how high the standards are for K-pop stars. Although so many people get plastic surgery, there is still some stigma attached to it. Yet looking good is considered non-negotiable. So many people get around this by getting plastic surgery when they're very young, so that it seems more natural as they grow and mature. Fans. Now that we've talked about how K-pop idols are trained, what their lives are like, and how much money they make, let's talk about their legions of adoring fans. Well, the good news is that idols have no shortages of fans who are absolutely obsessed with them. Holding up your lighter at a concert is so out of date, and using your cell phone just isn't unique enough for these fans. Instead, many famous groups offer light sticks, which their fans can hold up during their shows, producing an incredible effect. And if your favorite band doesn't have an official stick yet, fans have been known to make do. Prior to Mamamoo releasing their adorable radish light sticks, fans would make their own out of actual radishes. And then, of course, we have the fans of N.Flying, who have been known to show up wielding decorative potatoes on sticks. And then there are the legions of fans who love shipping their favorite K-pop idols. Now, shipping is not something unique to K-pop, but it's one of the many things these fans absolutely take to the next level. Basically, shipping is when you hope the two people get into a relationship with one another and talk about what it would be like if they were dating. Just think about all the people out there who are convinced that Captain America and Bucky Barnes should be more than just good pals. Actually, it's probably best if you don't think about that too long. Just know that there are many fandoms where shipping is a thing, but none so huge as in K-pop. And K-pop fans are shipping actual people with one another, not just fictional characters. Since many K-pop idols are expressly forbidden from dating or prefer to remain quiet about their private lives, this makes it easy for fans to make guesses about who they would pair well with romantically. And in most cases, these ships happen regardless of gender or sexual orientation. In fact, surprisingly enough, the majority of popular K-pop ships tend to involve same-sex couples, even if the people in them are straight. There are a few interesting theories about why people enjoy shipping so much and why K-pop fans in particular are so invested in their ships. Many people believe it's simply a result of people developing romantic fantasies towards members of the groups, while others believe it stems from a lack of romance in the lives of the fans. When it comes to ships between two men, some think these form because the idea of a bromance is intriguing to many people and they're not used to seeing men act affectionately with one another. It's interesting that so many of these ships are homosexual in nature, considering the fact that homophobia is an issue in South Korea. It's a seeming contradiction, and it's hard for outsiders to see the appeal. While there are plenty of people who choose their one true pairing just for fun, there are some fans who vehemently argue that these idols are meant to be together. But now we're getting into the realm of the sasaeng fans. While most K-pop fans are just like fans of any other group, these sasaeng fans are absolutely obsessed. Sasaeng means private life in Korean and refers to the fact that these fans have absolutely zero discretion when it comes to invading the private lives of their favorite idols. In addition, they frequently engage in downright illegal behavior, including stalking, and often put their idol's safety at risk because of their frightening behavior. Their goal is not just to celebrate their favorite idol or enjoy listening to their music, but to personally be remembered by them. They would much rather have negative attention than no attention, and they're not above trying to physically harm idols as a result. One sasaeng fan confessed to trying to slap her favorite idol with the idea that this would ensure he would always remember her. When some people picture these fans, it's easy to see hordes of young women screaming and crying with joy to get to see their idols up close. But often, these fans opt for downright insidious means to get close to their idols. Some of them even obtain employment in order to gain access to these stars and find themselves working for airlines, hotels, or even phone companies. Not only does this provide fans the chance to see their favorite idols, but it can also be lucrative. People have been known to sell information about these idols and their whereabouts to fans for a hefty price. Solo artist Samuel found out that two of his trusted staff members were actually selling personal information about him to these crazed fans. It can be hard to know who to trust as a celebrity, especially when your most enthusiastic fans actually want to harm you. Entire industries have risen up out of the desire to cater to these sasaeng fans. Forget about driving for Uber for some extra cash. Some people in Korea market themselves as sasaeng taxis, and for a hefty fee, they'll drive you around while you stalk your favorite group or idol. Oftentimes, this can be dangerous, and many accidents have been caused as a result of this practice. Heechul and Ituk from Super Junior were once chased down by fans who ended up causing a 7-car pileup. In addition to costing a ton of money, these people devote far too much time to their idols, and we don't say that lightly. Managers report seeing fans go to the bathroom right in the streets to avoid losing their spots in line. Rather than being embarrassed, they view this as a badge of honor. Many people have gotten so obsessed they've dropped out of school or lost their jobs as a result. Unfortunately, these types get a lot of press, especially when they get arrested for breaking the law. Many people outside of the fandom think they are indicative of the typical K-pop fan, but this couldn't be further from the truth. These fans actually cause a lot of stress and anguish to their idols, and many places have laws prohibiting their types of over-the-top behavior. However, because these fans spend tons of money on their preferred idols, some places and companies are discouraged from cracking down too hard on them. Learning about these fans just begs the question, is there something about K-pop specifically that causes so many of these fans to exist? And there are some surprising reasons why this may happen more in K-pop than in other industries. Korea is a small place, meaning that it's easy to get around. And while in the United States you may have New York, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles as popular celebrity hubs, in Korea there is really just Seoul when it comes to big-name entertainment destinations. And remember earlier when we mentioned that many management teams force their idols to live together in the same place? While many Western celebrities live in lavish mansions with tons of security, K-pop idols typically live in fairly standard apartment complexes. Because of these factors, K-pop idols are way more accessible than other celebrities, making it likelier that obsessed fans will have the means and opportunity to get to their idols. History. We know why people find K-pop idols so easy to obsess over now, but how did this style of music get so big in the first place? Currently, compared to 5 to 10 years ago, there is much more access to Korean products and media than ever before for those of us who don't live in Korea. Now, if you look at Netflix, you'll see tons of Korean movies, and if you head to the store, you'll see tons of Korean skincare items. In fact, this phenomenon has been so relatively sudden that it even has a name, the Hallyu Wave. Even though the music video dropped all the way back in 2012, we're sure you remember the song Gangnam Style by Psy. When it hit YouTube, it became the most viewed video with over 3 billion views, and it held that title for years after its release. And in fact, the internet is a huge reason why K-pop and other aspects of the Hallyu Wave have become so huge. Now, it's easy enough to look up K-pop artists on social media, listen to their songs on streaming services, or watch videos of their concerts on YouTube. Long ago, this was a total impossibility, and people weren't looking to go out of their way to listen to music in a different language. Increased accessibility is a huge factor in the popularity of K-pop, but let's not discount the groups themselves. It's easy to look at the lives of these idols and think things could be better. The contracts could be less strict, inner beauty could be appreciated more, and creativity could be more encouraged. But there's no denying that despite being rather harsh, the methods these entertainment industries use are effective and have produced some truly spectacular idols over the years. Korea's music industry is worth an estimated $5 billion, and no small part of that is due to the export of K-pop. In 2009, the Wonder Girls made it to the Billboard Hot 100 with their hit song Nobody. And that was just the beginning. Needless to say, this has inspired many entertainment companies to focus on overseas markets and the profit to be found by promoting K-pop outside of Korea. K-pop music is fun and catchy, the dancing is superb, and the idols are all beautiful, so it's not hard to see what people find appealing about it. While it's interesting to note how K-pop made its way to America, its growth within Korea is also fascinating. South Korea went through a serious government reform in the 1980s, and its effects spilled over into the music industry. Prior to this shift, the government was mostly in control of what music was created, and needless to say, they didn't leave a lot of room for creativity or freedom of expression. It wasn't uncommon for unsanctioned or vaguely provocative music to be outright banned, and most music tended to be rather slow-paced. But all that changed when their media was liberalized and both American music and talent shows became insanely popular. This ended up creating an amazing blend of traditional Korean culture and American-style pop music that immediately caught on with fans. Modern K-pop can directly be traced back to a group called SEO Taiji and Boys, who performed on a televised talent show in 1992. The group lost and received the lowest scores of the episode, but the audience loved them. Their song I Know went on to become a massive hit, and they challenged many social norms of the time and sang about fashion, censorship, and their feelings. These guys were singing their own songs and writing their own music, and it was nothing that audiences had ever heard before. Before long, entertainment groups were popping up, training new idols, and streamlining the process of creating hit songs and popular groups. Some of the early hits were G by Girls' Generation, Haru Haru by Big Bang, and Abracadabra by Brown Eyed Girls. These songs are all absolutely infectious, the performances are great, and it's not hard to see why they immediately became huge hits. These companies have undeniably deciphered the perfect algorithm for maximizing profits and making sure people can't get enough of their music. But this doesn't mean that all K-pop groups are the same. For instance, the popular group Red Velvet has a dual concept, creating pop music under the Red side and R&B style under the Velvet. Their Red songs are what most people think of when they hear the word K-pop and include hits like Ice Cream Cake and Red Flavor, while their Velvet songs have a more mature sound like Automatic and Bad Boy. They're not shy about combining various genres and coming out with some truly unique sounds. Twice is another popular K-pop group with an interesting twist. Not all of their members are native to Korea. Momo, Mina, and Sana are Japanese, and although Mina was raised in Japan, she was actually born in Texas. And the group's youngest member, Tsuyu, is Taiwanese, making this group uniquely diverse when compared to other K-pop groups. These girls aren't shy about displaying their own personalities and sense of style, and their video Cheer Up gained over 50 million views in just 2 months on YouTube. And then we have NCT Dream, which is a subunit of the larger group NCT. This group has tons of members who work together in different configurations depending on what type of music they're putting out. It's a unique concept, and NCT Dream in particular has been a huge hit with fans. Differences. We've talked about what makes K-pop so appealing, but now let's discuss how it differs from traditional Western-style pop music. American pop stars are expected to be fully trained and ready to perform before anyone is going to sign them. They need to display talent, have a history of performances under their belts, and be ready to work. However, in the K-pop industry, being malleable is considered a huge plus. Kids are trained from a young age to dance and sing, and it's up to their managers to fine-tune them into the type of performer they need for the group they're trying to put together. Idols sign on with companies having no idea which group they will end up being a part of, who their fellow idols will be, or what type of music they'll be making. They're expected to undergo further training for years before they even get to make their musical debut. And part of putting together a successful K-pop band means making a group which holds international appeal. The American music industry is absolutely massive, and most Western stars have the advantage of being native English speakers. Even superstars like Celine Dion had to learn how to speak English in order to break into the scene and really make it big. In this way, K-pop stars are at a disadvantage, but it makes it all the more impressive that they've managed to become so successful in various markets. Many groups release albums in various languages, including Japanese and Chinese, in order to reach more potential listeners. There's no denying that youth and beauty are two huge components in life as a K-pop star. When it comes to Western performers, it's not unusual for stars to have long careers that extend into their later years. Performers in their 70s, such as Cher and Dolly Parton, are still performing to sold-out shows, and Madonna hasn't slowed down despite being in her 60s. But K-pop stars don't have the same luxury and have a comparatively short career in the spotlight. Of course, you are probably wondering what all of those retired K-pop stars are up to once their musical careers end. These idols have been training in music and dance since they were children, so needless to say, they're sadly unequipped to fade back into obscurity and take on a more menial job. And unless they were in an immensely successful band, it's likely that they haven't made enough money to comfortably retire. In fact, many former K-pop stars recall feeling lost when they can no longer perform, and some entertainment companies even provide counseling and therapy to help them adjust to the transition. This is one of the many reasons why such idols feel the need to branch out into other areas of entertainment. It's not unusual to see idols transition to acting or working as a television host. Many idols spend their career feverishly working in order to pay off their debt, but for every other group who makes it big, there are many more that fail. These former members often struggle to adjust to a life that doesn't involve being a K-pop idol. For traditional pop stars, behaving badly is barely a career blip in most cases. While Khloe Kardashian got arrested for driving under the influence, her mother and sister Kim framed her mugshots to hang in their mansions while they filmed their exceptionally popular reality show. Stars managed to move effortlessly past affairs caught on video and other scandalous actions that their fans have forgotten about in a week or two. But K-pop stars are held to an entirely different standard of behavior, and it's incredibly unforgiving, particularly for female performers. Minami Mangeshi from the band AKB48 was caught spending the night with her boyfriend, and the public backlash was immediate and intense. Minami was shamed by both her management company and her one-time fans. In an effort to make it right, she shaved her head and sobbed while she apologized to everyone she had hurt, again, for spending the evening with her boyfriend. Korean culture puts a large emphasis on humility, but this is something which many outsiders struggle to understand. Many of the scandals of K-pop stars seem pretty tame, and the punishments and public apologies a bit outlandish by our standards. And oftentimes, it seems like the wrong person is the one being shamed. Kim Kardashian built an empire out of a single intimate tape being released, but such a video caused the ruin of a singer, Baek Ji-young. Her former manager had taken the video of them being intimate without her knowledge or consent and used it to blackmail her. This man was in a position of power over her and was ultimately charged with assaulting a minor. Not only did Baek Ji-young feel the need to formally and publicly apologize, but she was so thoroughly shamed that she was forced to leave the country, and all of her songs were taken off the air. Shockingly, she was eventually able to make a comeback and enjoy a solo career during her 30s. Soloist Ivy is another idol who had her name dragged through the mud because of alleged scandals. An anonymous person claiming to be a former flame tried to blackmail Ivy for tens of thousands of dollars by threatening to release sensitive photos and videos of her. A warrant was put out for his arrest, and no evidence of any such videos or tapes ever surfaced. But because of this incident, she was forced to stop all of her promotions and lost out on many valuable contracts. She'd been dating fellow performer Wee Sung, and rumors began to circulate that she had been unfaithful. Neither Ivy nor Wee Sung ever confirmed this, but fans pointed to an interview where Wee Sung had once talked about being cheated on as evidence. Not only was Ivy out of work, but a cosmetics company she had done work for chose to sue her because of these incidents. They asked for $500,000 in a lawsuit which called her personal life inappropriate, and said it degraded their company's reputation to have done business with her. Whoever said that all press is good press definitely wasn't talking about being a K-pop idol. Future. Now that we know how K-pop stars are made and what the industry is like, let's talk about the future of K-pop. For most of its time in the spotlight, the Korean entertainment industry was like a factory, cranking out popular songs in a calculated and almost mechanical fashion. Yet some of the biggest K-pop bands on the market right now don't fit neatly into this mold, and it could signal a huge shift in the industry. There's no denying that BTS has been a huge hit both inside and outside of Korea. While other groups may utilize non-Korean members in order to enhance their international appeal, all the members of BTS are Korean. In addition, the 7 members of the group have input on their music, social media, and performances, and many believe this is why they've achieved such a staggering level of success. The all-female group BLACKPINK is newer to the scene, but already incredibly successful and a departure from the K-pop norm. When the music video for their song Doo 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 was released, it became the second most viewed video ever in the first 24 hours, just behind Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do. They are the first all-female K-pop group who has 4 #1 singles on the Billboard World Digital Song Sales Chart. It's clear this group was created with the intent of marketing to international audiences, and this strategy is clearly paying off. Unlike many other trends, we definitely don't see K-pop going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, it seems that groups are evolving to become less cookie-cutter and stand out more, and we love it. We look forward to seeing more groups hit it big and hope to see more talented musicians given the chance to express themselves. What do you think about the K-pop industry? Do you think there are some things which could be improved, or is it perfect the way it is? Let us know your thoughts and tell us your favorite group in the comments section below. Then take a moment to click subscribe and turn on your notifications to get more great videos from the Taco. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.